So the state of New York owns a very large hydroelectric dam at the north end of Lake George, New York. This hydroelectric dam had been for many decades operated by the International Power Corporation. In other words, this hydroelectric dam that is currently owned by the state of New York is controlled and operated by New York State, the Power Authority, the Environmental Conservation Department, and the Lake George Park Commission apparently operate this dam. And the water goes up and the water comes down, and the ice sheet in the winter goes up, and the ice sheet in the winter and spring go down, and the ice and snow goes up, and the ice and snow comes down with the water level that goes up and down and up and down and up and down on Lake George, New York, causing property destruction, boathouses to be destroyed, docks, marinas, all kinds of waterfront bulkhead, or what's known as riprapping, to be destroyed. And one of the famous property destructions that even the state of New York can't deny, and that's the destruction of the islands. The islands on the Lake George have been being destroyed for decades. In fact, the state of New York Environmental Conservation Department has noted it and witnessed it and written about it and litigated over it for many decades. So the state of New York is extremely well aware of what it is that I'm talking about in this video. The destruction of the Witham Marina by the up and down ice and snow of the lake level during the wintertime drawdown and the springtime when all the water comes slamming back up, because the dam that the state of New York owns, the dam that the state of New York operates, the dam that is the property of the state of New York, is wholly inadequate to release enough water. The release capacity of Dam 230, also referred to as Dam A, is 54% undersized. According to the state's own engineers, Stetson Engineering, and the United States Army Corps of Engineers. The dam is completely too small in its release ability to adequately control the level of the lake. Plus, the more water they hold behind the dam, or pond behind the dam, the ponded back water allows the power turbines, the power generators, to make lots and lots of plenty of money for the state of New York, and previously for International Power and International Paper. And Enel Power, and Green Mountain Power apparently owned it at some point. But it's the state of New York's dam. The state of New York, Governor Cuomo, Basil Sagos, and the Attorney General and the legislature for the state of New York own and operate Dam A on Lake George. And the up and down water causes property destruction, just like on Lake Ontario, just like on Lake Michigan, Lake Superior, and Lake Erie on the Great Lakes, and then the St. Lawrence Seaway. The state of New York destroyed the Witham Family Marina with International Power Corporation using the dam 230 at the Lachute River for years to control the ice level, the ice and snow, I should say, the ice and snow going up and down and up and down and up and down as it destroyed the islands and the other boathouses and docks all over Lake George. That's according to DEC's own employees and the Lake George Park Commission's own employees. There's witnesses to this literally out Out the ass. I'm sorry, folks, but there's thousands upon thousands of witnesses out the ass that this video is precisely spot on and accurate, factual and truthful. Precisely the exact same destruction processes, the same destruction scenario going on the Great Lakes, caused by the Moses-Sanders Dam, which is mostly owned by the state of New York, and the Canadian government does the same exact damage. In other words, the Witham Family Marina was destroyed many years in a row because of the dam operated and owned by the state of New York. In other words, my mother and father in our family did not destroy our own marina 5 years in a row. 5 years, 1965, 66, 67, 68, 1969, and, well, it happened again in 1970 until my parents lost everything they owned. So Governor Cuomo, Basil Sagos, the Attorney General of the state, David Wick, Roger Smith at Lake George Park Commission, the Fund for Lake George, the Lake George Association, which, by the way, the Lake George Association is in a massive way witness to the discussion in this video. They're witnesses to it. And property owners all over Lake George are witness to it. Not just former Lake George Park Commission ranger Frank Leombruno. And, Mr. Bryant. I can't remember Mr. Bryant's first name. I guess it's not important. Jack Bryant. There we go. Jack Bryant. And all the other people that worked for the Lake George Park Commission on Lake George Patrol. Everybody knows about the island destruction, and everybody knows about the dock and the boathouses and the seawalls and the shoreline being destroyed by the up and down, up and down, up and down water, ice and snow controlled by Dam A, the insufficient, wholly inadequate dam, the nuisance dam 230 at Ticonderoga. Now, all the links and photographs and information you could possibly hope for are right here below. They're linked below. And the state of New York's records and files, the state of New York's records and files on this up and down, up and down, up and down catastrophe on Lake George are here and demanded. If you're wondering what it is that Witham's asking for, let's have the records of the state of New York, Washington County, Essex County, Warren County, and all the townships. You got Bolton Landing, Lake George Village, Ticonderoga. You got The Hague. You got, Queensbury. You've got all these townships around the townships and villages. They got records of their lakefront properties all being destroyed. And then, of course, you got the local news, the local media, Post-Star, Troy Record, Albany Times-Union, Lake George Mirror, Lake George Warrensburg News, Adirondack Almanac, the state court records, the federal court records, Army Corps of Engineers, the private engineering firms that were hired by the state. All of these records exist. Let's cough them up. Let's get them together, Andrew Cuomo, and produce them. They've been requested under Freedom of Information Law and Freedom of Information Act, sent directly to numerous offices of DEC, and you people haven't produced record number one. You haven't produced anything. It's like it's a big, giant secret. So, Governor Cuomo, this video's for you, and Basil Sagos, this video is for you. Produce all your records and files on the up and down, up and down, up and down water and ice and snow cycles on Lake George, and all the dock damage, the boathouse damage, and the island damage. Your records and your files, your litigation, your investigation files, your inter-office memorandum, your phone calls, your emails on this destruction that's going on Lake George just exactly the same way as it's happening on Lake Ontario, Lake Erie, the St. Lawrence Seaway. It didn't just happen to the Withams, it's happened all over New York State. All right, ladies and gentlemen, I guess I'll leave it right there. And well, the records have been demanded under the law, and produce the records. New York State, that's all you got to do is produce the records. And folks, we'll leave it right there. Hasta la vista. God bless, and you betcha, we're coming back.